The chamber stretched so far that its walls disappeared into manufactured twilight. 73 species each floating in designated
Human,
pods
activate
at
the
heights
analysis
that proclaimed their
protocols.
status
We
in the
must
cosmic
understand
hierarchy.
their weaknesses.
The air hummed with
The
translation
patterns are
fields,
accelerating.
turning
We must
clicks,
act now.
whistles,
I see
and
it. What are your
growls into
projections?
something every
Catastrophic.
species
We
could
need
understand.
reinforcements.
Agreed.
Ambassador Lysara
Specimens
Marie
are
stood
stable.
at the center
Increase
of the
containment
floor.
fields on the right
A small
sector.
figure in
Their
dark
reactions
gray,
will be
her
crucial for the
silver-streaked
next
hair pulled
phase.
back severe and simple.
We must address this
Around
issue,
her,
Mimi.
council
The
members
consequences of
shifted in their
inaction are
pods
severe.
with barely
I urge you
concealed
to consider
amusement.
the evidence and act
Some
now.
made sounds the translation fields rendered as laughter. She had just finished reading Earth's formal declaration. Lysara's hands remained still at her sides. Her face showed nothing. But behind her dark eyes, a memory played on endless repeat. A memory 15 years old that felt like yesterday. Her son, 7 years old, running through the colony gardens on Arcturus Station. His laugh bright as starlight. Then the sirens, the breach. Pirates pouring through hull sections while Earth's Navy was 3 systems away, too small, too slow, too late. She found him in the medical bay, small and cold and silent. The physician said it was quick. The physician lied. Lysara blinked once. The memory retreated, but it never left. It never would. Let me understand this correctly. Speaker Velthar's 3-part beak clicked in what passed for variant amusement. Your species, which achieved faster than light travel a mere 80 years ago, wishes to claim exclusive rights to a sphere of space 50 light years in diameter around your home system. That is correct, Lysara said. Her voice carried no hint of nervousness, no tremor, no doubt. And you expect all spacefaring species to honor this exclusion zone. Velthar's tone made clear what he thought of the idea. We expect all spacefaring species to avoid this region. Yes, the chamber erupted. Translation fields struggled to process the cacophony. Laughter, certainly. Disbelief, outrage from the more aggressive species who saw this as an insult to the established order. Lysara waited. She did not fidget, did not look away from the speaker's pod, simply stood there while council members expressed their opinions of humanity's audacity. Above her, in the highest observation pods, the eldest species watched in silence. Matriarch Senya of the Vorton Collective leaned forward. Ancient eyes studied the human woman. Something in Lysara's stillness troubled here. This was not the posture of someone making empty demands. This was the posture of someone who had already decided, already committed, already mourned. Finally, Velthar raised one wing arm for silence. The chamber gradually quieted. Ambassador Marik, he said, your species controls 12 colonies. 12. The Zitharan Empire controls 47 star systems. The Moreni Collective spans 300 worlds. Even the youngest species on this council, besides your own, has been traveling the stars for 600 years. What possible justification do you have for such a demand? Lysara's expression did not change, but her next words fell like stones into still water. My government tried diplomacy for 80 years, Speaker. We were invaded twice, raided 23 times, lost 40,000 citizens. Your civilized galaxy watched. Today, we stop asking permission to exist. We are not demanding. We are informing. There is a difference. A new voice cut through the chamber, deep, resonant, with the kind of authority that he came from conquest. Informing or threatening? All eyes turned to the Zitharan pod. High Commander Zarvosk leaned forward, his massive frame filling the viewing screen. Zitharans were large even by galactic standards. 4 powerful arms, thick armored hide, mandibles that could crush durasteel. They had built their empire through military might, viewed any challenge to their authority as an invitation to demonstrate superiority. Lysara turned to face him. The size difference was absurd. He was easily 3 times her mass, 4 arms to her 2, weapons-grade biology to her soft human flesh. But she did not step back, did not lower her eyes. We are not threatening anyone, Commander. We are establishing a boundary. We ask that all species respect it. Ask. Zarvosk's mandibles spread in what his species used for a smile. You ask nothing human. You stand before this council and declare that a massive region of space belongs to your infant civilization, and expect us to simply comply. Yes, the single word hung in the air. Simple, absolute, final. Zarvosk's laugh echoed through the chamber like rocks grinding together. Other species joined in. The idea was too absurd, too audacious, too perfectly ridiculous. Do you know who I am, Ambassador Marik? High Commander Zarvosk, Supreme Fleet Commander of the Zitharan Empire, victor of the Krell campaign, conqueror of the outer reaches. I know exactly who you are, Commander. Then you know what I have accomplished. The fleets I have broken, the worlds I have brought to order, and you think you can dictate where I may or may not travel. Lysara said nothing, simply watched him with those dark, calm eyes. Zarvos stood to his full height, impressive even through holographic projection. The traditional trade route between Zitharan space and the Outer Rim passes directly through your so-called exclusion zone. It has been used for 3,000 years. Do you truly believe we will alter our course because a species that still uses fusion drives asks us politely? The route can be adjusted, Lysara said. It would add perhaps 6 days to the journey, a small inconvenience. Compared to what? Compared to insulting the Zitharan Empire by suggesting we must go around your pitiful territory. His forearms spread wide. No, Ambassador Marik, I will not adjust our route. In fact, I believe it is time someone taught your species its proper place in the galactic order. The chamber went silent. Even the species that had been laughing moments before now watched with sudden interest. Zarvosk's words were not mere posturing. When a Zitharan High Commander spoke of teaching lessons, fleets usually followed. Commander Velthar said carefully, "Perhaps we should discuss this matter in a more diplomatic—" "There is nothing to discuss," Zarvosk interrupted. "In 3 of your months, the Zitharan trade fleet will pass through the human exclusion zone on our traditional route. If the humans wish to object, they are welcome to try." He paused, let the silence build, then delivered his final statement, bowing with the weight of absolute certainty. "I suspect they will learn quickly why young species listen when their elders speak." He cut the transmission. His pod went dark. Lysara stood motionless in the center of the chamber. Around her, council members began speaking among themselves. Some seemed troubled by Zarvosk's declaration. Others appeared satisfied that humanity would soon be reminded of its place. A few looked at Lysara with something that might have been pity. She felt none of it. The chamber, the voices, the judgment, all of it faded to background noise, because in her mind she was already seeing what would come, already counting the Quachron, already accepting the burden. 500,000 souls. That was the intelligence estimate for Zarvosk's trade fleet. 300 warships. 500,000 crew. All of them about to cross a line that could not be uncrossed. She had tried to warn them, would try again. But she knew how this would end. Knew it with the cold certainty of someone who had lost everything once and would do anything to prevent it from happening again. Ambassador Marik, Velthar said, his earlier amusement gone. The Council cannot control the actions of individual empires. If the Zitharan fleet enters your declared exclusion zone, we will not intervene. However, I must warn you that any hostile action against Zitharan vessels will be considered an act of war. The Council will not support Earth in such a conflict. "We understand," Lysara said. "Do you—" The voice came from one of the higher pods. Matriarch Senya floated her pod lower, her ancient eyes fixed on the human. "Commander Zarvosk was not making an empty threat. The Zitharan fleet will include at least 200 warships. Your entire navy numbers 40 vessels, and those with inferior shielding and weapons technology." 37 vessels currently operational, Lysara confirmed. "Then you must see reason," Senya continued, her tone almost gentle. "Withdraw your declaration. Apologize to the Zitharans. Perhaps offer trade concessions. It is not too late to avoid catastrophe." Lysara shook her head slowly, once, deliberate. "We will not withdraw the declaration." "Then your people will die," Senya said flatly. "Child, I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires older than your civilization. I have seen what happens when pride outweighs wisdom. The Zitharans will not show mercy." "We are not asking for mercy, Matriarch." "Then what are you asking for?" For the first time since entering the chamber, Lysara's expression shifted. Something moved behind her eyes, something that made several of the nearer council members unconsciously draw back. "We want to be left alone," she said quietly. "That is all we have ever wanted." She turned to face the chamber. Let them all see her. Let them all hear. "We spent 10,000 years fighting ourselves, destroying ourselves, nearly ending ourselves a dozen times over. We finally unified. We finally looked up at the stars and decided to join the galaxy peacefully. And in 80 years, we have been invaded twice, had our trade ships seized 7 times, and watched 3 of our colonies forced to pay protection money to species who see us as easy targets because we are young." Her voice remained calm, but the words cut through the chamber like a blade. "We are tired. We are tired of being tested. We are tired of being viewed as prey. We are tired of explaining that we simply want to develop in peace, so we are drawing a line, a clear line. And we are telling the galaxy as politely as we know how not to cross it." "Or what?" The voice came from Zarvosk's pod. Apparently he had been listening. The screen relit with his massive form. What will you do, human? Your weapons are primitive. Your shields are weak. Your ships are slow. What possible threat do you pose? Lysura looked directly at him, held his gaze. Let the silence stretch. We told you what we want, Commander. We told you where our boundaries are. If you choose not to listen, that is your decision. She paused, and her next words dropped into the chamber like stones into still water. But do not say you were not warned. She bowed slightly to Speaker Velthar, turned, and walked toward the chamber exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, each one measured, deliberate, final. Pathetic, Zarvosk muttered. 3 months, human. 3 months. And your exclusion zone will be revealed for the fantasy it is. Perhaps after we have passed through your space unopposed, your species will learn humility. Lysura stopped at the door. She did not turn around. 3 months, she agreed. Then she left. The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment after she departed. Velthar looked around at the assembled species. Some appeared satisfied, others uncertain, a few deeply troubled. In the highest observation pod, Matriarch Senya turned to her aide. Record my observation, she said softly. The human did not threaten, did not bluster, did not even argue. She simply stated facts, as if the outcome were already decided. You think she knows something we don't, Matriarch. Senya watched the empty space where Lysura had stood. I think she knows exactly what is going to happen, child, and that terrifies me more than any threat could. The war room existed 3 miles beneath the Rockies, shielded, hardened, built to survive anything the universe could throw at it. Displays covered every wall showing the positions of Earth's 37 operational warships, the 12 colonies, the network of sensor platforms that watch the approaches to Sol system. Lysura materialized in the center of the room as the quantum communicator's holofield collapsed. She had transmitted directly from the council station. No delays, no buffer. From one chamber of judgment to another. Admiral Corvin Strake stood at the main display, 60 years old, career military, face carved from experience and hard decisions. He turned as Lysura appeared. How'd they take it? Exactly as expected. Laughter, dismissal. Zarvosk issued his challenge. 3 months. He'll cross the zone on the traditional trade route. Strake nodded slowly. Then we're committed. We were committed the moment we made the declaration, Corvin. You know that. Dr. Nida Orven approached from the technical station. 40 years old but looked older. Dark circles under her eyes. Hands that trembled slightly when she thought no one was watching. She was the architect of what they called the grid, the designer of Earth's ultimate defense, and the woman who would carry the weight of 500,000 deaths for the rest of her life. The grid is ready, Orven said. Her voice was steady but quiet. All 50 platforms are operational. Quantum cores synchronized. Space-time manipulation fields calibrated. When the trigger event occurs, activation will be automatic and complete. Lysura walked to the main display, touched a control. The hologram shifted to show a 3-dimensional map of the exclusion zone. 50 points of light appeared distributed throughout the region in a carefully calculated pattern. Explain it one more time, Lysura said. I need to understand exactly what I'm authorizing. Orven moved to the display, expanded one of the platform markers. The hologram showed a structure roughly spherical, covered in impossible geometries that hurt to look at too long. Each platform generates a field that manipulates local space-time. When unauthorized vessels enter the grid, it activates. The fields intensify. Focus. The web contracts around the intruders and folds them. Folds them, Lysura repeated. Yes, folds them out of normal space into pocket dimensions. Separate quantum spaces that exist alongside our universe but cannot interact with it. From our perspective, the ships simply cease to exist. Strake crossed his arms. And the crews? Orven hesitated. This was the part that kept her awake at night. The folding process takes approximately 90 seconds. During that time, crews experience spatial distortion, disorientation. Then the fold completes and they're preserved in quantum stasis. Time stops. Consciousness stops. They exist frozen. Not alive, not dead, just suspended. Forever. The silence in the war room was absolute. Lysura stared at the display, at the web of light, at the trap they had built. Can it be stopped? Once it activates? No, Orven's voice was barely audible. That was by design. We couldn't risk enemy forces hacking the system and shutting it down. So we made it autonomous, self-sustaining. Once triggered, it runs until all unauthorized vessels in the zone are neutralized. There is no override, no shutdown code, no manual control. How does it trigger automatically? The grid monitors the zone. If our designated warning vessel is destroyed while attempting contact with intruders, the system interprets this as hostile action and activates. Cassandra's signature is programmed into the database. Lysara turned to look at Orven directly. So the moment Zarvosk destroys Cassandra, the grid activates, and we become executioners of 500,000 people, with no way to stop it, no way to take it back. Yes, and you're certain it will work. We've tested it on unmanned vessels, asteroids, captured pirate ships. It works perfectly, flawlessly, every time. Lysara nodded slowly, turned back to the display, watched the web pulse with potential energy, with patient automated death. 500,000, she whispered. Strake moved to her side. Lysara, you can still call this off. Withdraw the declaration, find another way. She shook her head without looking at him. There is no other way, Corvin. We've tried diplomacy, tried appeasement, tried building up our navy. Nothing works. They see us as prey, as resources to be exploited, as children to be disciplined. Her voice hardened. I will not watch another generation die the way my son died. Helpless, while help never comes. So instead we kill 500,000 Zitherans. No, Lysara turned to face him. Her eyes were dry, but haunted. They kill themselves. We will warn them. At the council, at the boundary markers, with diplomatic transmissions, with Cassandra, 5 clear warnings. If they choose to ignore all of them, if they choose to destroy our people while delivering a final plea for peace, then the consequences are theirs to bear. History won't see it that way. I don't care what history sees. I care about Earth's children sleeping safely. I care about colonies developing without fear. I care about humanity finally having the right to exist without asking permission from species who view us as insects. She walked to the secondary display, pulled up a file, her personnel record, her service history, and beneath it a recording marked personal statement for historical record. I've made a confession, she said, recorded everything, my reasoning, my authorization, my acceptance of responsibility. When this is over, when the judgment comes, they can condemn me. Execute me if they want, but Earth will be safe. That's the trade I'm making. Strake and Orven exchanged glances. Neither spoke. Lysara looked at the chronometer. 3 months, Zarvosk will assemble his fleet, make his grand demonstration, and we will show the galaxy that humanity's warnings are not suggestions. She turned to Orven. Doctor, is there any chance at all, that he'll turn back, that he'll respect the boundary? Orven met her eyes. Based on the psychological profile, his public statements, his history number, Zarvosk views compromise as weakness. He'll cross the zone specifically because we told him not to prove he can, to make an example. Then we make an example of him. Lysara straightened, composed herself. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of command, of decision, of terrible necessary conviction. Admiral Strake, confirm grid status. All platforms operational ambassador. Dr. Orven, confirm trigger protocols. Automated response ready. Cassandra's signature confirmed in database. Then we proceed as planned. Maintain heightened readiness. Monitor Zitharan fleet assembly. And pray that I'm wrong about Zarvosk, that he surprises us, that he turns back. She moved toward the exit, paused at the door. But prepare for what happens when he doesn't. Rally Point Epsilon existed in the neutral zone between Zitharan space and the galactic core. A region of empty void marked only by navigation beacons. No planets, no resources. Nothing but darkness and the cold light of distant stars. Perfect for assembling a fleet. The first ships arrived 3 days after the council session. Destroyers, cruisers, battle carriers, each one massive, built for war, covered in armor plating thick enough to shrug off most weapons in the known galaxy. Each one carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. They came in groups, squadrons, battle groups, and as they gathered, they formed a constellation of metal and malice that blazed against the cosmic dark. By the end of the first week, 100 ships hung in formation. By the end of the second week, 200. By the end of the third week, 300 vessels of war filled the void. The largest fleet the Zitharan Empire had assembled in decades. High Commander Zarvosk stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will, and surveyed his fleet through the main view screen. Pride swelled in his 4-chambered heart. This was power. This was the might that had conquered 47 systems, and he was about to use it to teach one arrogant species a lesson they would never forget. Captain Thyranash, his most experienced ship commander, approached from the tactical station. She was a veteran of the Krell campaign, had served under Zarvosk for 20 years, knew him well enough to speak her mind. "Commander, a word in private." Zarvosk gestured to his ready room. They entered, the door sealed behind them. "Speak." Thyranash stood at attention, but her eyes held concern. "Sir, I've been reviewing the Human Declaration, the intelligence reports on their technology, and I believe we should reconsider this course of action." "Reconsider." Zarvosk's mandibles clicked, not quite laughter, not quite anger. "We have 300 warships, Captain. They have 37. They have no weapons that can penetrate our shields. No tactics we haven't countered 100 times. What exactly concerns you?" "They don't bluff, sir. I've studied them. 90% of their recorded history is warfare. Against themselves, yes, but warfare nonetheless. They developed nuclear weapons and pointed them at their own cities, created biological agents that could sterilize their own planet. They came within hours of total self-annihilation multiple times, and yet they never quite destroyed themselves. They always pulled back from the edge." "Your point." "My point, Commander, is that humans are very good at preparation, at planning for worst-case scenarios. They spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. Now that they're unified, that energy has to go somewhere." Zarvosk moved to the viewport, looked out at his fleet. "You think they've prepared a trap?" "I think they've prepared something." The ambassador's demeanor at the council, her certainty. She wasn't threatening, she was stating facts, as if the outcome were already decided. "Then she is delusional, or desperate, or both." Zarvosk turned to face his captain. "Thyranash, I appreciate your caution, but I have spent 40 years building this empire. I have faced species with technology far beyond what humans possess. I have shattered fleets 10 times larger than their entire navy. If they have prepared something, we will adapt and overcome. That is what we do." Thyranash held his gaze for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, Commander. Return to your ship. Prepare your crew. In 1 week we depart for the human exclusion zone, and we show the galaxy that the Zetharan Empire bows to no one." Thyranash saluted, left, but the concern did not leave her eyes. Zarvosk remained at the viewport, alone now. His reflection stared back at him from the transparasteel. Forearms, armored hide, the face of a conqueror. He activated his personal communicator, a private channel, quantum encrypted, direct to his home on the Zetharan capital world. The hologram formed. His mate appeared, smaller than him but no less formidable, and behind her 3 offspring. Adolescents now, growing strong. "Honored mate," he said, the formal greeting, but his voice softened. "Beloved." "Zarvosk," she smiled. But there was worry there too. "I saw the council broadcast the Human Declaration. You're going through with this. I am the Supreme Fleet Commander. I cannot show weakness. It's not weakness to avoid unnecessary conflict. It's not unnecessary. The humans claim half a galaxy as their private territory. If we allow this, others will follow. Trade routes will be disrupted. Our economy will suffer. The Empire will appear weak." His eldest offspring stepped forward. "Father." The human ambassador. She seemed very certain. "What if they have weapons we don't know about?" Zarvosk's mandibles spread in what humans would call a smile. "My child, humans have been in space for 80 years. We have been traveling the stars for 3,000. They build fusion ships. We manipulate gravity itself. Their shields are primitive, their weapons conventional. There is no secret weapon that could threaten this fleet. Sometimes certainty is just stubbornness, and stubbornness breaks against reality." His mate was not convinced. "Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise. I am not rushing into battle. I am asserting our right to travel freely. If the humans are wise, they will watch our fleet pass and learn their place. If they are foolish and attack, we will defend ourselves. But either way, I will return, and the galaxy will remember that the Zetharan Empire does not yield." They spoke for a few more minutes, personal things, family things. Then Zarvosk ended the call, stood alone in his ready room. He would never speak to them again. But he didn't know that yet, couldn't imagine it, because in his mind, in his experience, in his entire worldview, built on 40 years of conquest, there was no possible scenario where humans could threaten this fleet. He was about to learn that certainty and truth are not the same thing. Captain Vairatala stood in the 100. Oh, Sam, Sam, Sa, Sa, mà, um, da bechost son. Captain Viratalis stood in the observation deck looking down at Earth's blue curve. She was 34 years old, career Navy, had lost her husband to pirates 5 years ago, volunteered for this mission the day it was announced. Behind her, the door opened. 4 crew members entered. Her engineer, her pilot, her communications officer, her medic, all volunteers, all knowing what this mission meant. Captain, the engineer Kosaris moved to her side. Ship is ready, drives at 100%, life support optimal, quantum communicator synced with Earth Command. Talis nodded. Thank you, Ko. She turned to face her crew, looked at each of them. Kosaris, pilot Tavin Soren, communications officer Marcus Holt, medic Anna Lu. You all know the mission. Cassandra will position at the exclusion zone boundary. When the Zatharan fleet approaches, we transmit final warning. If they ignore it, we maintain position. Make them destroy us. And then the grid activates, Taven said quietly. Yes, automatically. Our destruction is the trigger. The grid will do the rest. Silence. They all understood. They were not going to fight, not going to flee, just going to stand there and die, so that 500,000 others would die after them. I won't lie to you, Talis continued. This is a one-way mission, but it's the most important mission any of us will ever fly, because after this, no species will ever ignore Earth's warnings again. No colony will ever have to watch their children die while waiting for help that comes too late. She pulled up a hologram, showed the message each of them had recorded. Goodbyes to family, explanations, acceptance. These will be delivered after. Your families will know you were heroes, that you volunteered, that you died trying to save 500,000 people by giving them one last chance to turn back. Anna Lu spoke up. Do you think he'll listen, Zarvosk? Talis met her eyes. No, but we have to try because that's who we are. We give chances. We issue warnings. We don't want to kill. We just want to be left alone. She straightened, composed herself. Departure is in 6 hours. Use the time however you want. Say your goodbyes. Make your peace. And know that Earth will remember you. Always. The crew dispersed. Talis remained at the viewport, watching Earth turn beneath her. A voice spoke from behind her. Lysara Merrick's voice, transmitted via secure channel. The ambassador had come to the station. Captain Talis? Vera turned. Lysara stood in the doorway, alone. Her face showed the weight of what she was asking. Ambassador, I wanted to see you off, to thank you, to tell you that I wish there was another way. There isn't. We both know that. Lysara moved to the viewport, stood beside her. 2 women looking at the world they were trying to save. This is how we stop being prey, Talis said quietly, by becoming untouchable. There's a difference between predator and untouchable. Is there? Yes, predators hunt. We just want to survive. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Lysara spoke again. History will judge us, Captain. You and me, the crew, Dr. Orvin, Admiral Strake, all of us. And I don't know if judgment will be kind. Then we accept judgment, but we save Earth first. Lysara turned to her, extended her hand. Talis took it. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Ambassador, for having the courage to draw the line. Lysara left. Talis remained, watching Earth, memorizing it. 6 hours later, Cassandra undocked, accelerated, headed for the exclusion zone boundary. Veritalis would never see Earth again, but Earth would never forget her. 3 months passed. In that time, Zarvosk's fleet conducted drills, practiced formations, synchronized their quantum drives, turned 300 individual ships into one unified instrument of overwhelming force. Earth watched, monitored, prepared. The grid hummed silently, waiting. Lysara spent the 3 months in a small apartment near Earth Defense Command. Barely slept. Couldn't eat. Every day was counting down to a moment she knew was coming, but desperately hoped wouldn't. The day arrived. The Zatharan fleet departed Rally Point Epsilon on schedule. Exact timing. Perfect formation. A metal constellation that stretched across 100,000 kilometers of void. They traveled for 6 hours. Standard fleet speed. Toward the boundary coordinates specified in Earth's declaration. On Earth, in the war room, 3 miles beneath the Rockies, Lysara stood at the main display. Strake beside her, Orven at the technical station. They watched the fleet's approach vector in real time. Cassandra is in position, Strake reported. All systems green. Grid status. Dormant but ready. Platform synchronized. Awaiting trigger event. Lysara nodded, said nothing. Her hands gripped the edge of the display console, knuckles white. On the view screen, Cassandra appeared. A small ship, 40 meters long, crew of 5, standing between Earth and the largest fleet assembled in decades. Fleet approaching boundary in 10 minutes, Strake said quietly. Lysara closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw her son, saw the council chamber, saw 500,000 names, saw the future. God forgive us, she whispered. The fleet reached the boundary, crossed it. For a moment, nothing happened. Space looked exactly the same. The same distant stars, the same empty void. The human exclusion zone appeared no different from any other region of space. On the dominant Wills Bridge, Zarvosk stood at the command station. Boundary crossed. All ships report status. All vessels green, Commander. No contacts, no weapons detected, no defensive platforms. Zarvosk felt a mixture of satisfaction and disappointment. Satisfaction that his assumptions had been correct. Disappointment that there would be no actual confrontation. See, he said to Thyranash on the comm, empty threats. Maintain formation. Continue forward. Then sensors detected a single ship, small, human configuration, approaching from galactic north. Contact, single vessel. Mass suggests research class, not military. It's not even shielded. Zarvos moved to the sensor station, studied the readings, then laughed. They sent a research ship, put them on screen. The main view screen shifted, showed Cassandra's small bridge. Captain Veritalis stood at its center. Behind her, 4 crew members at their stations. The contrast was absurd. 5 people versus 500,000. This is Captain Veritalis of the research vessel Cassandra, the human woman said. Her voice was tired, as if she had been through this conversation before and knew how it would end. You are currently in violation of Earth's exclusion zone. Turn back now. This is your final warning. Zarvok stared at the screen in disbelief, then began to laugh. Around the bridge, his crew joined in. Your final warning, he repeated. Captain Talus, look around you. 300 warships, each one capable of destroying your vessel with a single shot. And you issue warnings. Talus nodded slowly. I see your ships, Commander. They're very impressive, but I'm still telling you to turn back. Or what will you do with your little research ship? I won't do anything, but if you continue forward, something else will. Threats from someone in no position to threaten. Not a threat, a plea. Talus's expression shifted. Something like sadness entered her eyes. Please, Commander, turn back. Take the long route. Add 6 days to your journey. It's such a small price. The only price that will be paid today is the one for your arrogance. Zarvosk's amusement faded to cold command. You have 30 seconds to move your ship out of our path, or we will move it for you. Talus closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, Zarvosk saw something he didn't expect. Not fear, not anger, just deep, profound sadness. Then I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry we couldn't convince you. I'm sorry for what's going to happen. And I'm sorry that we tried so hard to avoid this and you forced us to do it anyway. 20 seconds. My crew and I volunteered for this. We all signed up knowing what would happen. We drew straws to see who would get to be the voice. The last person who tried to warn you. I won. 10 seconds. Our families know. They're proud of us. We all left messages. Her voice didn't shake, didn't waver. Mine said I love you and I'd do it again. Zarvos leaned forward. Fire. The weapons officer pressed a single button. A lance of superheated plasma crossed the distance between the dominant will and Cassandra in less than a second. The research vessel didn't try to dodge, didn't run, didn't fire back. It simply vanished in a bright flash of light and expanding gas. Silence filled the Zitharan bridge. Resume course, Zarvosk said quietly, but the victory felt hollow. Something about Talus's words bothered him. The way she had been so calm, so resigned, as if she had expected exactly what happened, as if it had all been part of some larger plan. He shook off the thought. Cassandra had been nothing, a gesture. Its destruction changed nothing about the fleet's mission. All ships maintain formation, continue forward, maximum scanner range, standard vigilance protocols. The fleet obeyed. 300 warships now traveling through space where 5 humans had just died. On Earth, in the war room 3 miles beneath the Rockies, alarm screamed. Trigger event confirmed. Cassandra destroyed. Grid activating. Dr. Orven's hands flew across her console. Platforms coming online. Quantum cores initiating. Space-time fields generating. Network synchronization in progress. Strake's voice was hollow. Time to full activation. 30 seconds. Lysara stood frozen, watching the display. Watching 50 points of light across the exclusion zone begin to pulse. Begin to brighten. Begin to weave their web. 20 seconds. She thought of Veritalis, thought of her crew, thought of 5 brave souls who died so she could make this choice. 10 seconds. She thought of her son, thought of every human child who would sleep safely because of what was about to happen. 5 seconds. She thought of 500,000 Zitharan souls, 500,000 people who had families, dreams, lives, who were just following orders, who didn't deserve this. Activation complete. Grid is online. Full operational status. The display showed the exclusion zone, but now it was no longer empty space. 50 platforms burned with impossible light, and between them, connecting them, forming a net of pure geometry, threads of warped space-time spread across the void. The web was complete, the trap was sprung, and Zarvosk's fleet sailed deeper into it with every passing second. Strake turned to Lysara. It's done. We can't stop it now. Lysara nodded. Her face was stone, but her hands trembled. I know. She walked to her office, sealed the door, sat down at her desk, and finally alone buried her face in her hands. 500,000 souls, the price of peace, the cost of safety, the burden she would carry until the day she died. Outside, the grid pulsed, patient, automated, absolute, waiting to fulfill its purpose, waiting to show the galaxy what happened when you ignored humanity's warnings, waiting to teach a lesson that would echo through the stars for centuries. The boundary had been crossed. Now came the consequences. 4 hours after crossing the boundary, 4 hours since Cassandra burned, 4 hours since the web began to form. High Commander Zarvosk walked through the corridors of the dominant will, inspecting, observing. Crew at their stations. Weapons charged. Crew at their stations. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. Everything exactly as it should be. But something felt wrong. He couldn't define it. Couldn't point to a specific anomaly or malfunction. Just a feeling, a pressure, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. On the bridge, his senior officers worked their stations with practiced precision, monitoring sensors, tracking fleet positions, maintaining formation. 300 ships moving as one through the exclusion zone. Status report, Zarvosk commanded. His tactical officer looked up. All vessels maintaining formation, Commander. No contacts, no weapon signatures. Navigation shows we're proceeding on course. Estimated time to far boundary 7 days at current speed. Sensor anomalies. A pause, slight, but there. Intermittent, sir, minor fluctuations in local space-time readings. Nothing that affects operations. Likely natural phenomena associated with the region's stellar geography. Zarvosk moved to the sensor station, studied the displays himself. The officer was right. Small fluctuations, ripples in the fabric of space, brief gravitational eddies that appeared and disappeared. Nothing alarming. Nothing except that they hadn't been there 4 hours ago. Continue monitoring. I want updates every 10 minutes. Yes, Commander. He returned to his command chair. 4 massive armrests to accommodate his forearms, the seat designed specifically for his physiology. The bridge arranged so he could see everything, control everything. He was the master here, the conqueror, the supreme commander of the most powerful fleet in this sector of the galaxy. So why did he feel like prey? The comm chimed. Captain Theranesh. Her face appeared on a secondary screen. Commander, my sensor teams are reporting unusual readings, spatial distortions forming around the fleet. Very subtle, but consistent. I'm seeing the same on the dominant will. Analysis unknown, sir. The patterns don't match any natural phenomena in our databases. It's almost as if... She trailed off. Speak, Captain. It's almost as if space itself is responding to our presence, forming around us, moving with us. Zarvosk felt his mandibles tighten. Impossible. Space doesn't respond. It's empty. Void. We move through it. It doesn't move with us. I know, sir. I'm just reporting what the sensors show. Keep monitoring. Inform me immediately of any changes. He cut the transmission. Sat in silence. The bridge crew worked around him. Efficient, professional, and aware that their commander's certainty was beginning to crack. Then the communications officer spoke. Commander, The Relentless has stopped responding to hails. Zarvosk's attention snapped to her. Define stopped responding. They're not answering comms, sir. We're transmitting. The channel is clear, but no response. Sensor status. The tactical officer checked his displays. Relentless is still on sensors of commander. Still in formation, maintaining exact position. Engines show active. Systems appear nominal. They're just not answering. A cold feeling settled in Zarvosk's chest. Dispatch 2 destroyers. Visual contact. I want to know what's happening on that ship. Yes, sir. Sending Iron Fang and Stormbreaker. On the tactical display, 2 icons broke formation. Accelerated toward the Relentless. Standard approach vectors. Textbook maneuvers. Zarvosk watched. Waited. The 2 destroyers reached the Relentless. Matched velocity. Moved alongside for visual confirmation. Iron Fang reports visual contact, sir. Relentless appears intact. No damage. No signs of distress. Ports are all closed. No activity visible. Are they attempting to board? Preparing docking procedures now, Commander. 30 seconds passed. 45. A minute. Commander. The communications officer's voice had changed. Higher, tighter. Iron Fang has stopped responding. The cold in Zarvosk's chest spread. And Stormbreaker. Also silent, sir. He stood, moved to the tactical station, stared at the display. 3 ships, all showing green across the board, all maintaining formation, all apparently functional, all silent. Get me Captain Theronash. Her face appeared again. This time her concern was visible. I'm seeing it, Commander. 3 ships, no comms, still moving. Send a shuttle, unmanned, remote piloted. I want visual confirmation of what's on those bridges. Acknowledged. They waited. The shuttle launched from one of Theronash's escort vessels, accelerated toward the silent ships. Its camera feed appeared on the main view screen. The shuttle approached the Relentless, moved to a viewport, aimed its external cameras inside. The bridge was visible. Stations lit, displays active, controls operating. No crew, empty chairs, abandoned posts, coffee cups still steaming, data pads lying where they'd been set down. But no people, 800 crew members. Gone. Check the other 2, Zarvosk said. His voice sounded distant, not quite his own. The shuttle moved to Iron Fang. Same result. Bridge operational. Crew absent. Stormbreaker. Same. 1,500 people. Vanished. Fleet halt. All stop now. The order rippled through the 300 ships. Engines powered down. Momentum bled away. The fleet came to a relative stop in the void. All ships except 3. The Relentless, Iron Fang, and Stormbreaker continued forward. Same speed. Same heading. No deviation. They're not responding to the halt order, the navigation officer said unnecessarily. Zarvosk watched the 3 ships pull ahead. Watched them grow smaller on the tactical display. Watched them continue deeper into the exclusion zone. Then the sensor officer made a sound. Not quite a gasp, not quite a scream. Sir, they're gone. What? The 3 ships, they're not on sensors anymore. No debris, no explosion, no jump signature. They just ceased to exist. Zarvosk stared at the display, at the empty space where 3 destroyers had been, where 1,500 of his people had been. Gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, not disabled. Simply gone, as if they had never existed at all. And somewhere in his mind he heard Captain Talus's voice again. Sad, resigned, certain. I'm sorry for what's going to happen. On Earth, 3 miles beneath the Rockies, Dr. Nida Orven stood at her station monitoring the grid's performance. Her hands were steady now. The trembling had stopped, replaced by cold professional detachment. She had to watch, had to witness. This was her creation, her responsibility, her burden to bear. First captures, complete, she reported, her voice flat, empty. 3 vessels, 1,500 individuals, folded successfully. Grid operating within parameters. Launcher Admiral Strake stood beside her, his face was stone. Time from capture to fold. Approximately 90 seconds. The grid identifies vessels that fail to respond to external stimuli as compromised units, prioritizes them for folding. It's working exactly as designed. Lysara entered the war room. She hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, just paced her office for 4 hours while watching telemetry feeds. 1,500, she said quietly. Yes, Ambassador. How many more? Orven checked her projections. The grid's patterns. the fleet's current position and trajectory. At current rate, complete folding of all fleet assets will occur within approximately 18 hours. 18 hours. 500,000 souls, gone in less than a day. Lysara moved to the main display. Watched the visualization of the exclusion zone. The grid appeared as threads of light, a web, and caught in that web like insects 300 ships. No, 297 now. She watched as another ship icon flickered, dimmed, disappeared, 296. Can we send a message? She asked. Tell them what's happening. Give them a chance to retreat. Strake shook his head. They can't retreat. The grid has warped local space-time. Every escape vector curves back toward the zone center. It's a gravity well that shouldn't exist. They're trapped. Then we're executing them, slowly, while they watch each other disappear. Yes, Lysara closed her eyes. God forgive us. But she didn't walk away, didn't leave. Stood there and watched because this was her choice, her authorization, her responsibility. If 500,000 people were going to die because of her decision, the least she could do was witness it. On the dominant Will's bridge, chaos was building beneath the surface of military discipline. Crew members exchanged glances, whispered when they thought Zarvosk couldn't hear. The confidence that had defined this fleet was evaporating like mist. Commander, the sensor officer's voice cracked. We're detecting the phenomenon, the spatial distortions. I can isolate the frequency now, putting it on screen. The main view screen shifted, showed space around the fleet, but not normal space. This was space seen through a different spectrum, a frequency Zetharian eyes normally couldn't process. And in that frequency, the web was visible. Threads of light, impossible geometries, connections forming between points that shouldn't connect. A net of pure warped space-time spreading across the void, and every ship in the fleet was caught in it. The threads didn't damage, didn't cut, didn't burn. They just existed, wrapping around each vessel, touching them, marking them. What is that? Someone whispered. Zarvosk stared at the screen, at the web, at the trap they had sailed into with absolute confidence. That, he said slowly, is what the humans built. He moved to the communications station. All ships, I want every science officer analyzing this phenomenon. I want to know what it is, how it works, and how we counter it. And reports came back over the next hour. None of them good. The web was not made of matter, not energy, not anything in conventional physics. It was folded space-time itself, geometry made manifest, and it was tightening. Ships that have disappeared, one science officer reported. Analysis of their last sensor reading shows the threads around them brightening, intensifying. Then the ships fold. Geometry collapses inward, and they cease to exist in our dimensional space. Where do they go? Unknown, Commander. But based on the quantum signatures, they're being displaced into pocket dimensions, separate quantum spaces adjacent to our universe, but not interacting with it. Zarvosk felt his breathing quicken. Can we destroy the web cut through it? Negative, sir. It's not a physical structure. You can't shoot space-time. You can't cut geometry. It simply exists. Then how do we escape it? Silence. Answer me. The science officer's voice was barely audible. We don't, sir. This is a trap, a perfect trap. We can't fight it, can't outrun it, can't escape it. We can only wait while it consumes us ship by ship. Around the bridge, crew members froze, the reality settling over them like a shroud. They were going to die, all of them, slowly, methodically, while watching each other disappear into nothing. Zarvosk's comm chimed, multiple channels, simultaneous, panic spreading through the fleet. Commander, this is the eternal conquest. We're experiencing internal anomalies. Dominant Will, this is the Bloodhammer. Crew members are disappearing from sealed sections. We can't explain it. All ships, this is the Morning Star. 3 of my engineering team just vanished. We have them on security footage. They were walking down a corridor and they just stepped through a door that doesn't exist and never came back. More reports, flooding in, a cascade of impossible events. People disappearing from inside ships, vanishing from locked rooms, stepping around corners and never appearing on the other side, walking through doorways that led nowhere. The grid wasn't just taking ships, it was reaching inside them. Selectively removing crew members, like picking meat from bones. Zarvosk opened fleet-wide communications. All vessels, implement lockdown protocols. No one travels alone. Groups of 4 minimum. Seal all non-essential sections. Stay in visual contact at all times. The orders went out, were followed. made no difference. People continued to disappear, from bridge stations, from engineering, from crew quarters, sometimes in front of witnesses, sometimes while holding hands with others. One moment present, the next moment gone. The communications officer on the dominant wheel suddenly clutched her headset, her scales paled. "Commander, I'm receiving something. Audio. Garbled. It's coming from coordinates where the relentless should be, but there's nothing there on sensors. Put it through." Static filled the bridge, white noise, the sound of quantum interference, and beneath it barely audible screaming, distorted, stretched, as if coming from very far away or very deep. Then words, fragmentary, terrified. "Fold. Happening. Can see. Reality breaking. Don't let it." The transmission cut off, replaced by silence more terrible than the screams. Zarvosk felt his blood turn cold. "Clean that up. Isolate the signal. Where is it coming from?" The communications officer worked frantically. "Sir, the signal? It's coming from the exact coordinates where Relentless vanished. But it's not normal space. The quantum signature is wrong. It's like the signal is bleeding through from somewhere else." Another transmission. Different voice. Female. Theranash's crew. 90 seconds. Everything stretching. Time fragmenting. Turn back before. Gone. "What's happening in those 90 seconds? Zarvosk demanded. Dr. Orven's voice came through on a priority channel from Earth. She had been listening, monitoring. "Commander Zarvosk, I'm Dr. Naida Orven. I designed the grid. What you're hearing are the final transmissions from crews during the folding process. It takes approximately 90 seconds from initial capture to complete fold. During that time, your people experience extreme spatial distortion, reality fragmenting around them. Then the fold completes and quantum stasis locks in. Time stops. Consciousness stops. They're preserved, frozen. They feel nothing. After that. After, Zarvosk said. But during those 90 seconds, Orven was quiet. Then, during those 90 seconds, they experience what a human mind would interpret as hell. We're sorry, we tried to warn you." The channel closed. Zarvosk stood on his bridge, understanding settling over him like ice. Not instant death, not clean, not merciful. 90 seconds of watching reality tear apart, of feeling space-time fold around them, of experiencing dimensions that organic minds were never meant to perceive, and then frozen. Forever, in whatever state they were in when time stopped. "How many?" he asked quietly. "Fleet count," the tactical officer said, voice shaking. 212 vessels remaining. We've lost 88 ships, 176,000 people. 176,000 people who had just experienced 90 seconds of cosmic horror before being locked in eternal stasis. And the grid was accelerating. "Commander," Theranash's voice. "Urgent. I'm proposing emergency action. We scatter the fleet, maximum thrust in random vectors. The grid can't track 300 targets moving in 300 directions. Some of us might escape." Zarvosk considered. It was desperate, but they had no other options. "All ships, prepare for emergency scatter on my mark. Random vectors, maximum thrust. Execute in 30 seconds. The fleet prepared, engines charging. Each captain calculating their own escape vector, their own desperate attempt at survival. 10 seconds. On Earth, alarm sounded. Commander Orven's voice came through again. "Don't scatter. The grid interprets rapid evasive maneuvers as hostile action. It will prioritize those ships. They'll fold faster." Zarvosk froze. "You're saying if we try to escape, we die quicker?" "Yes, the grid is designed to eliminate threats. Fleeing ships are processed as priority threats. And then what do we do? Continue forward. The grid will consume you ship by ship, but it's slower than if you run. I'm sorry. There is no escape. Only the choice between slow death and fast death." Zarvosk stared at nothing, then made his decision. "Cancel scatter. All ships maintain course. We go forward together." "Commander," Theranash's voice was desperate. "We can't just wait to die." "We have no choice, Captain. Running makes it worse. So we proceed with dignity. We face what's coming, and we hope that our deaths teach the lesson that will save others." He cut the channel. Theranash sat on her bridge, looked at her crew, saw the fear, the desperation, made her own decision. "Helm, prepare for maximum thrust. Break formation. We're running." "Captain, her executive officer stared at her. "The commander ordered." "The commander is wrong. We're Zatharan warriors. We don't wait for death. We fight." Even if the fight is futile, engage. Her ship broke for Ayun, accelerated hard, breaking away from the fleet. For 3 seconds, it looked like it might work. Then the threads around her ship brightened, intensified, contracted with terrifying speed. Thiranesh had time for one thought: I was wrong. Then reality folded. 90 seconds of horror compressed into subjective eternity, space tearing, time fragmenting, dimensions bleeding together, and then stasis. Frozen. Her ship gone from normal space. The lesson delivered. On the dominant Will Zarvosk watched Thiranesh's ship disappear. The brightest, fastest fold yet. She tried to save her crew, he said quietly, and the grid killed them faster for it. There is no escape, no mercy, only consequences. Fleet count 211. 60 hours after crossing the boundary, 60 hours of slow consumption, 60 hours of watching his fleet die ship by ship. Fleet count 123 vessels. Zarvosk had stopped sleeping, stopped eating, just stood at his viewport watching the web pulse around them, watching ships flicker and disappear, watching the impossible geometry tighten. Then sensors detected something new. A ship, human configuration, approaching from outside the grid at a distance calculated to remain safe. Not a research vessel this time. Military, marked with Earth Defense Force insignia. The communications officer looked to Zarvosk. He nodded. The transmission connected. A human male appeared on screen. Older, gray hair, military uniform decorated with rank insignia. Admiral, if Zarvosk was reading the symbols correctly. Hi, Commander Zarvosk. My name is Admiral Corvin Strake, Earth Defense Force. I'm here to witness. Witness, Zarvosk's voice was hollow. You mean watch. Watch us die. Yes, the honesty was brutal, but Zarvosk appreciated it. No pretense, no false sympathy, just truth. Admiral Strake, I am requesting, begging that you deactivate the grid. We surrender. We acknowledge Earth's sovereignty. We will pay any reparations, accept any terms. Just make this stop. Strake's expression didn't change. I cannot, Commander. The grid is autonomous, self-sustaining. There is no override, no shutdown code, no manual control. Once activated, it runs until all unauthorized vessels in the zone are neutralized. You built a weapon you can't control. We built a weapon that can't be stopped. That was the point. No enemy could hack it, disable it, turn it against us. It simply executes its programming. Absolute, final. Zarvosk felt rage building. Hot, desperate. You're monsters. You've condemned 500,000 people to... He couldn't finish. No, Commander. You condemned them. You were warned. 5 times. At the Council. At the boundary markers. Through diplomatic channels. By Ambassador Marique personally. By Captain Tallis. You chose to ignore every warning. You chose to destroy Cassandra while she begged you to turn back. The grid didn't activate because we wanted it to. It activated because you triggered it. How could we know? That's why we warned you 5 times. We told you not to cross. We told you there would be consequences. We gave you every opportunity to respect our boundary. You chose pride over prudence, arrogance over caution, and now you reap what you sowed. The transmission flickered. Zarvosk realized his hands were shaking. All 4 of them. There must be something. Some way to stop this. There isn't, and even if there was, we wouldn't. You brought a military fleet into our territory after being explicitly told not to. You destroyed our people, delivering a final warning. Every death that occurs here is a direct result of your choices. We didn't know it would be like this. Didn't understand. That's why we warned you. Simple, logical, undeniable. Zarvosk felt his rage collapse into despair. What happens to them, the ones who are taken? Strake was quiet for a moment, then chose honesty again. The folding process takes 90 seconds. During that time, they experience severe spatial distortion. Then they're locked in quantum stasis. Time stops. Consciousness stops. They're frozen, preserved, not experiencing anything, not suffering, just suspended. Forever. Not alive, not dead. No. Another ship disappeared on Zarvosk's tactical display. 122. How long, he asked quietly. At current rate, complete fleet elimination in approximately 8 hours. 8 hours, then silence, then nothing. Admiral Strake, I need you to deliver a message. To Ambassador Marique. I'm listening. Tell her she was right. Tell her humans don't bluff. Tell her I wish I had listened. Tell her, his voice caught. Tell her I'm sorry. For my people, for her people, for all of this. Strake nodded slowly. I'll tell her, Commander. And Admiral, when this is over, when my empire falls, when the galaxy learns what happened here, make sure they know the truth, that humans tried to avoid this, that you warned us 5 times, that we had every chance to turn back. Don't let history call this murder. Call it what it is. And what is it? Consequences for ignoring warnings, for believing might makes right, for thinking young species can't defend themselves. He met Strake's eyes. For arrogance. The tactical display updated, 115 ships. I should go, Strake said. I'm sorry, Commander Zarvosk. Truly, I wish you had listened. So do I, Admiral. So do I. The transmission ended. Zarvosk stood alone on his bridge. His crew had been vanishing around him for hours. Only a few remained now, translucent, fading, as if the grid was pulling them away slowly instead of all at once. He walked to his ready room, opened a private channel, quantum encrypted, direct to his home. The hologram formed. His mate appeared. She had been crying. The children stood behind her, faces marked with grief. Honored mate, Zarvosk said. Beloved, we received your broadcast, she whispered. The whole empire heard. Everyone knows. Good. Then they'll learn, they'll remember, they'll respect boundaries. His youngest child stepped forward. Father, are you going to die? Zarvosk felt something break inside, but his voice remained steady. Yes, child, soon. The grid will fold our ship. For 90 seconds, I will experience something terrible, and then I will be frozen. Preserved. Not truly dead, but not alive either. Existing in a place between. Unable to reach you, unable to hold you. But my last thoughts will be of you, always. We love you, Father. And I love you, all of you, more than conquest, more than empire, more than pride. He looked at his mate. I failed you, failed our people, failed everyone who trusted me. I am sorry. She shook her head, tears streaming. You did what you thought was right. What you were taught was right. The fault is not yours alone. It's ours, all of us. For believing strength meant invincibility. On his tactical display, the fleet count dropped again, 78. I must go, he said. The grid is close now. I can feel it. Like pressure, like weight. We'll remember you, beloved. Be better than me, he said. All of you, be wiser, be humbler, be willing to listen when others draw boundaries. The galaxy is changing. Adapt or die. The pressure increased. The bridge around him began to warp, geometry bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. Goodbye, beloved. Goodbye, children. Remember me, learn from me, and live. The hologram flickered, his family reaching toward him, calling his name. Then light, brilliant, overwhelming, the web contracting, space folding. 90 seconds of experiencing dimensions that organic minds were never meant to perceive. Reality fragmenting, time becoming spatial, space becoming temporal. Everything wrong, everything breaking. Zarvosk's last coherent thought before the horror consumed him, we were warned. Then the fold completed, and he existed frozen in quantum darkness, aware of nothing, experiencing nothing, just preserved, forever. His bridge crew around him, all locked in their final expressions, all suspended in that eternal moment between life and death. The dominant will ceased to exist in normal space, and the grid moved on, patient, automated, absolute. On Earth, in the war room 3 miles beneath the Rockies, an alarm chimed, different from the others. Final. Grid activity complete, Dr. Orven reported. All unauthorized vessels neutralized. Fleet count 0. The exclusion zone is clear. Lysara stood at the main display, had stood there for 72 hours, watching the count drop, ship by ship, soul by soul, 300 to 200 to 100 to 0. 500,000 people. Gone. Not killed. Worse. 90 seconds of cosmic horror. Then frozen. Preserved. Locked in quantum stasis. Forever. She had authorized this, had known it would happen, had accepted the cost. But knowing and witnessing were different things. Admiral Strake approached, stood beside her, silent for a long moment. It's done, he finally said. Yes. Zarvosk asked me to deliver a message. He said to tell you that you were right, that humans don't bluff, that he wished he had listened, that he was sorry. Lysara closed her eyes. Did he suffer? For 90 seconds, yes. Then quantum stasis. After that, nothing. No awareness, no pain, just preservation. A good death, then. As good as it could be, given everything. Lysera opened her eyes, looked at the display, at the exclusion zone now clear and quiet, at the grid humming patiently, waiting for the next intruder that would never come. What have we done, Corvin? We saved Earth, guaranteed our sovereignty, ensured no species will ever threaten us again. At what cost? 500,000 souls. In our own humanity. She turned to look at him. Can we live with that? We'll have to. The choice is made. The deed is done. History will judge us, but Earth's children will sleep safely. Lysera nodded, straightened, composed herself with visible effort. Compile a full report. Every detail, every transmission, every warning we gave, every chance they had to turn back. I want complete documentation. For what purpose? The Galactic Council will demand answers, will call us murderers, will try to condemn us. I want them to see the truth, that we tried everything to avoid this, that Zarvosk had 5 chances, that this was self-defense, not aggression. And if they don't accept that, then we withdraw from the Council, seal our borders completely, exist alone rather than exist as prey. She walked toward the exit, paused at the door. Corvin, tell Doctor. Orvan, her work is complete. The grid performed perfectly. She's not proud, Lysera. She's devastated. I know, so am I. So are we all. But we did what we had to do. Did we? Lysera was quiet, then spoke words that would haunt her forever. I don't know anymore. I thought I did. Thought I was certain, but now, she gestured at the display, at the empty zone. Now I just feel hollow. We won. Earth is safe, and I feel nothing but ash. She left. Strake remained, watching the display, watching the grid pulse with patient menace. Orvan approached. Admiral, the grid will remain active. Forever, a permanent warning, a permanent barrier, a permanent reminder of what happens when species ignore humanity's boundaries. And the 500,000, they remain, frozen, preserved, eternal prisoners, eternal lesson. Orvan's hands finally started shaking again. I built this. This is my creation, my legacy. You built Earth's survival. The cost was terrible, but the alternative was extinction. Was it, could we have found another way? We'll never know. The choice is made. The grid exists, and the galaxy will learn to fear us. Is that what we wanted, fear? Strake turned to her, met her haunted eyes. We wanted to be left alone. Fear accomplishes that. It's not ideal, but it's effective. On the display, the grid continued its patient vigil. 50 platforms, infinite patience, absolute enforcement. The boundary was secure. The warning was clear, and 500,000 souls existed in frozen quantum darkness, eternal testimony to the price of ignoring that warning. Earth was safe, but the cost of that safety would echo through the stars for centuries. The Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity for the first time in 3 centuries. Every species, every faction, every political entity with any claim to power had sent representatives. They sat in their pods in complete silence, waiting. The silence was not respectful. It was the silence of shock, of horror, of species recalculating everything they thought they knew about power and survival. 2 weeks had passed since the Zatharan fleet disappeared. 2 weeks since 300 warships and 500,000 souls vanished into quantum darkness. 2 weeks since the galaxy learned that humanity's warnings were not suggestions. Ambassador Lysera Marique stood at the center of the chamber floor. Same position as 3 months ago, same simple gray suit, same steady posture, but different eyes, haunted eyes, eyes that had watched 500,000 people die slowly over 72 hours, eyes that no longer slept without seeing faces in the dark. Speaker Velthar rose from his pod. His 3-part beak trembled slightly as he spoke. This emergency session of the Galactic Council is now convened. The matter before us is the complete disappearance of the Zatharan Imperial Trade Fleet, last known position within the territorial region claimed by the human species of Earth. He paused, gathered himself. Ambassador Marique, the Council requests information regarding the fate of the fleet. Can you provide answers? Yes, Lysera said. The single word fell like a stone into still water. The chamber erupted, shouts in dozens of languages, demands, accusations, rage born from fear. Because her answer meant she had done it, admitted it, claimed responsibility for the greatest mass death event in recent galactic history. Velthar called for order 3 times before the noise subsided. Then please, Ambassador, Tell us what happened. Lysara looked around the chamber, met the eyes of species that had dismissed her, laughed at her, told her humanity was too young, too weak, too insignificant to matter. None of them were laughing now. The Zetheran fleet entered our exclusion zone despite multiple clear warnings. They were informed of the boundaries. Told not to cross, they chose to cross anyway. Our automated defense systems responded as designed. The fleet was eliminated. The chamber exploded again. Louder, more visceral, species shouting over each other, translation fields struggling to keep up. From the Zetheran pod, acting commander Vrashkol stood. His scales were dark with grief and rage. His forearms spread in accusation. 500,000 people, 500,000 of my people, wiped out. And you stand there calmly admitting it. Lysara turned to face him, did not flinch, did not look away. Yes, I'm sorry for your loss, Commander. Truly, but your people were warned 5 separate times, at the council session 3 months ago, at the boundary markers placed throughout the zone, through formal diplomatic transmissions. When our research vessel Cassandra intercepted your fleet and begged your high commander to turn back. And even as Captain Veritalis died trying to save you, knowing she would be destroyed for delivering that final warning. Her voice remained level, but steel ran beneath it. Your high commander chose to ignore every single warning, chose to destroy our people, chose to continue forward into our sovereign territory with a military fleet. The consequences of those choices were his responsibility, not ours. You murdered them, Vrashkol roared. We defended our territory. There is a significant difference. Matriarch Senya floated her pod lower. Ancient eyes studied Lysara with something between horror and understanding. Ambassador Marik, I must ask what I believe speaks to the heart of this matter. You say your defense systems responded as designed. What exactly are these systems? How did they eliminate 300 warships so completely that we have found no debris, no survivors, no trace whatsoever? Lysara was quiet for a moment, then made her decision. Earth's government has authorized me to provide limited disclosure. If I explain our defensive capabilities, we will be sharing classified military information with the entire galaxy. But given the circumstances, transparency seems appropriate. She pressed a control on her wrist device. Holographic displays appeared above her, visible to the entire chamber. Complex equations, 3-dimensional models of impossible geometries, schematics that looked more like art than technology. During our final global conflict, before Earth unified multiple nations, developed theoretical weapons based on manipulating space-time itself. The research was dangerous, ethically questionable, ultimately shelved. When we began exploring the galaxy and realized the level of aggression we would face, we revisited that research. We spent 60 years perfecting it, 20 years building the platforms. The hologram shifted, showed a 3-dimensional map of the exclusion zone. 50 points of light appeared. 50 autonomous platforms. The grid. When unauthorized vessels enter the zone, it activates. Ships are folded into pocket dimensions, separate quantum spaces that exist alongside our universe, but cannot interact with it. From our perspective, they simply cease to exist. Horror spread through the chamber like a physical wave. Velthar's voice was barely audible. You're saying the Zetheran fleet still exists, trapped in some other dimension. They exist in quantum stasis. The folding process takes approximately 90 seconds. During that time, crews experience extreme spatial distortion as reality fragments around them. Then the process completes. Time stops. Consciousness stops. They're preserved in a frozen state, not experiencing anything, not suffering, just suspended. Forever. A new voice cut through the chamber's stunned silence. Scholar Thelovan, who had tried to warn Zarvosk months ago, you've trapped them in quantum stasis. He struggled for words. That's a fate worse than death. No, Lysara said firmly. Death is final. This is preservation. They feel nothing, experience nothing. Time does not pass for them. There is no suffering because there is no consciousness. Can they be retrieved? Senya asked. Theoretically, yes, if all 50 platforms were simultaneously deactivated and the fields collapsed in precise sequence, anything trapped inside would return to normal space. However, doing so would leave Earth defenseless. We have no intention of deactivating our defenses. So they are lost forever. And they were lost the moment High Commander Zarvos gave the order to enter our territory after being warned 5 times not to. Vrashkol's voice shook. You have condemned my people to eternal imprisonment. Your high commander condemned them, Lysara corrected. We gave fair warning. We could not have been more clear. He gambled that we were bluffing, that a young species could not possibly have developed weapons capable of stopping a Zitharan fleet. He was wrong. That is tragedy. But it is not murder. The chamber fell silent. Representatives looked at each other. In those looks, understanding passed between them. Fear, respect, a fundamental recalculation. Velthar cleared his throat. Ambassador Marik, the council must deliberate. However, I have one final question. You have revealed these weapons, shown us how they function. Are you not concerned that other species will develop countermeasures or similar weapons? Lysara's expression shifted. Something cold entered her eyes. Let them try. The physics involved require understanding we spent centuries developing. Even with what I've shared, it would take most species hundreds of years to replicate our work, and by then our defenses will have evolved. She paused. But more importantly, we hope no one will try. We hope today serves as permanent warning. Earth has boundaries. Those boundaries are absolute. Cross them and you will cease to exist. We say this not as threat, but as fact. Test us and you will share the Zitharan fleet's fate. And if the council votes to sanction Earth, Vrashkol demanded, to demand you dismantle these weapons. The chamber held its breath. Lysara's voice was quiet but carried to every corner. Then we will politely decline and withdraw from the Galactic Council. We joined hoping for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. If the Council cannot provide that, if our desire for simple sovereignty is viewed as aggression, then we have no place here. We will return to Sol System, seal our borders completely, and have no further contact with galactic civilization. You would isolate yourselves, Senya asked. If necessary, yes. We survived 10,000 years alone on one planet. We can survive another 10,000 alone in one star system. It would be a loss. But it would be preferable to being constantly tested, constantly threatened, constantly told that our boundaries don't matter because we are young. She looked around the chamber one final time. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. We found predators. So we learned to be something that predators avoid. That is not the story we wanted to write, but it is the story you forced us to write. With that, she bowed slightly to Speaker Velthar and walked toward the exit. Wait, the voice stopped her. Scholar Thilovan floated his pod down to chamber floor level. Ambassador Marik, may I speak with you privately? Lysara stopped, turned. Of course, Scholar. They moved to a side chamber. The door sealed. In the main chamber, the debate erupted. The side chamber was small, quiet. Thilovan's many eyes studied Lysara with unsettling intensity. I tried to warn them, he said quietly. 3 months ago, I told High Commander Zarvosk that humans do not bluff. He did not listen. I know. We monitored the council session. We appreciated your attempt. Appreciated enough to tell me the whole truth. Lysara's guard went up. What truth? What you told the council about pocket dimensions and quantum stasis. There's more, isn't there? She studied him, then slowly nodded. Yes. The grid is defensive, but you have offensive capabilities as well. How did you know? Because I study humans, and humans never build just one weapon. You build layers, backup plans, systems within systems. Lysara was quiet, then made a decision. 300 autonomous platforms, hidden throughout the galaxy, near major trade routes, close to population centers, strategic locations, each equipped with the same space-time manipulation technology as the grid, but designed for precision strikes rather than area defense. Thilovan felt a chill. You're saying Earth could strike back at any species anywhere, at any time. We're saying that anyone who harms Earth would regret it. We don't advertise this because we don't want to use it. But if pushed, if truly threatened, we will do whatever is necessary to survive. By threatening the entire galaxy. By ensuring the galaxy knows that attacking Earth means mutual destruction. That's deterrence. Thilovan was silent, then spoke carefully. You've made yourselves the most dangerous species in known space. We've made ourselves untouchable. There's a difference. We don't seek to expand, don't want to conquer, just want to exist. The grid gives us that right. The hidden platforms ensure we keep it. The galaxy will never truly trust you now. I know, but they will respect our boundaries, and that's enough. He studied her face, saw the toll this had taken. Was this about defense, Ambassador, or revenge? Your son died 15 years ago. Pirates. Earth's navy too far away. Lysara's composure cracked slightly. I joined government with one mission. Make sure no human child ever dies like my son did. Helpless. While help never comes. If that makes me a monster, so be it. But Earth's children sleep safely now. You paid for safety with your soul. Yes, and I'd do it again. She straightened. Thank you for trying to warn them, scholar. I hope that in time more species will listen to voices like yours. She left. The Lovin remained, understanding what humanity had become. A species so committed to survival that they had turned themselves into the galaxy's ultimate deterrent. The Zitharan Empire died slowly. 47 systems, 300 worlds, billions held under Zitharan control. Within a week, the first rebellion started. Colonies conquered decades ago, worlds that had paid tribute, species that had bent the knee. They rose up. Coordinated or spontaneous, it didn't matter. The Zitharan Empire, built on military superiority, collapsed when that superiority vanished. Acting Commander Vrashkol tried to hold it together. 3 weeks. That's all he managed. Then his final transmission, broadcast across all frequencies. The Zitharan Empire is no more. We built our power on military might and the assumption that no one could challenge us. Earth proved that assumption wrong. Our fleet, our pride, our high commander all gone because we believed ourselves invincible. His voice carried absolute defeat. Let our fall be a lesson. Might does not make right. The galaxy has changed. Technology can overcome numbers. Determination can defeat strength, adapt, or become another cautionary tale. He resigned the next day, retired to a remote colony world. The 47 systems found their own paths. Some declared independence. Others formed new alliances. A few descended into civil war. The Galactic Council sent peacekeeping forces to the worst zones, but mostly let transitions occur naturally. One former colony was Kethril, agricultural, peaceful, conquered 80 years ago. Among its population was a young Zitharan officer named Renkal, 23 years old, had lost his uncle and 2 cousins in the fleet. He felt the contradiction like physical weight, glad for freedom, devastated by loss. So he sought understanding. Lysara returned to Earth to celebrations, parades, speeches, medals, hero of humanity, savior of Earth. She accepted it all with calm exterior, smiled for cameras, said the right words, then went home, sealed the door, and finally let the mask slip. 3 days before the nightmares became unbearable, every time she closed her eyes, she saw faces, 500,000 of them, staring from quantum darkness. Admiral Strake found her on the 4th night, sitting at her kitchen table. Coffee cold, eyes red but dry. Can't sleep, can't stop seeing them. He sat across from her. Lysara, you saved Earth. I killed 500,000 people, Corvin. They killed themselves by ignoring 5 warnings. I activated the grid. I gave the authorization. I watched them die and did nothing. You couldn't stop it. It's autonomous. She looked at him. Does that make it better? Strake was quiet, then spoke words he'd been holding. Doctor, Orvin tried to kill herself yesterday. Sedatives. Her assistant found her in time. She's stable, but broken. Lysara closed her eyes. Because she built the grid. Because she watched it work. We're all broken, Corvin. All of us. You, me, Naida, everyone involved. Would you undo it if you could go back? Long silence. No, because the alternative was watching more children die. We tried every other way. Nothing worked. So we built something that couldn't be ignored. But you wish there had been another way. Every second of every day. Strake reached across the table, put his hand on hers. We live with it, together. 2 weeks later, a classified meeting. Lysara, Admiral Strake, Dr. Orvin, the President, Head of Strategic Defense. Orvin manipulated a holographic display. The entire galaxy appeared, 300 points of light scattered throughout. The offensive platforms, Orvin said, her voice hollow but functional, deployed over 30 years. 300 autonomous weapon stations, each equipped with space-time manipulation technology, designed for precision strikes. Lysara stared at the scope. 300 weapons, positioned throughout the galaxy, and no one knows. The grid is public deterrent. These are insurance. The President leaned forward. Ambassador, the Council will vote tomorrow on sanctions. You will refuse. We will withdraw. That's the plan. But before we withdraw, you need to deliver a message privately. To Scholar Thelovan, make him understand the full scope, that the grid is just the visible part. You want me to tell him about the offensive platforms? We want him to make the galaxy understand that attacking Earth means the end of galactic civilization. Lysara looked at the map, at 300 points of light, at apocalypse hidden among the stars. This is madness. This is deterrence, Strake said. Ultimate deterrence. And if they call our bluff, the president's voice was cold, then we demonstrate. Once. And after that, no one will ever doubt us. Lysara nodded. Because this was the world they had created. I'll tell Thelovan. The meeting ended. Lysara walked out into night, looked up at stars she had once dreamed of exploring as friends. Now just potential threats. 6 months later, construction completed on 2 monuments at the exclusion zone boundary. The first was human, black polished stone, 5 names engraved: Captain Veritalis, Engineer Kosaris, Pilot Tavin Soren, Communications Officer Marcus Holt, Medic Anna Lou. Below their names, they volunteered to be the last warning. They hoped you would listen. They died knowing you might not. Remember them, honor them, and heed the message they died to deliver. The second monument was Zitharon, massive, complex, 500,000 names engraved on metal plates. Below the names, they followed orders. They believed in their cause. They ignored warnings and paid the ultimate price. Let their sacrifice teach us that pride and power are not substitutes for wisdom. Let their memory remind us that every action has consequences. Let their names stand as warning. Listen when others establish boundaries. Respect when others say no. And understand that your strength does not give you the right to ignore the sovereignty of others. On unveiling day, ships from 30 species gathered. Respectful distance, no one entering the zone. A human delegation attended, led by Strake. Orvan, other officials. Lysara was invited, refused. She watched via holographic feed, alone as names were read, as speeches were made. When it ended, she turned off the feed, sat in darkness. 500,000 names engraved in metal, just like the souls in quantum darkness, preserved forever. She pulled up her confession recording, watched herself, younger, harder, more certain. I authorize activation of the grid defense system. I accept full responsibility for all consequences. If 500,000 people die because of this choice, let history judge me. But let Earth's children live free from fear. That is the trade I make. The recording ended. Lysara stared at that woman. Frozen in certainty, she didn't recognize her anymore. Renkal stood at the exclusion zone boundary, his ship held position at safe distance. 33 now, had spent a decade trying to understand. He had requested permission to visit Earth, to meet the woman who had authorized his uncle's death. She had agreed. His transport docked at Earth Orbital Station. He was escorted to a private meeting room. Ambassador Lysara Marique entered. 60 now, hair fully gray, lines carved deep, but still upright. They studied each other. Officer Renkal, Lysara said, thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. They sat across from each other. Renkal spoke first. You killed my uncle. Karval Reshkal, engineering specialist, served on the Relentless. He had a mate, 3 offspring. I know. I've read the crew manifest. All 500,000 names. Do you regret it? Lysara didn't hesitate. Let him see her truth. Every day, every night, I see their faces. Know they exist in quantum darkness because I gave the order. Then why did you do it? She met his eyes. Because the alternative was letting humanity remain prey. Letting our children die while help never came. Your uncle died because High Commander Zarvosk ignored 5 warnings. We tried everything to avoid killing his fleet, and he destroyed our people, delivering a final plea. Renkal processed this, so it was survival. Yes, for my species, the grid wasn't revenge. It was ensuring no parent would lose a child the way I lost mine, by killing 500,000 others, by making sure no one would ever test us again, by establishing boundaries that would be respected. Silence. Finally, Renkal spoke. The Zitharan Federation is different now. We don't conquer, don't view might as right. We learn. I know, I've watched your progress. Because of what you did. 500,000 died to teach the rest of us. That was never the goal, but yes, that was the result. Renkal stood, moved to the viewport, looked at Earth. Do you know what I realized after years of hating you? What? That you were right, not morally, not ethically, but practically. The galaxy didn't respect boundaries, viewed young species as prey, and you changed that. He turned to face her. I still mourn my uncle, still wish there had been another way. But I understand. You didn't want this. You tried to avoid it. And when forced to choose between your people's survival and my uncle's life, you chose your people. I cannot fault you for that. Lysara felt something crack inside. I'm sorry, she whispered, for your uncle, for his family, for all of them. I know, and perhaps someday I'll accept that apology. For now, I can only acknowledge it. He moved toward the door, paused. One more question. If you could go back, knowing everything, would you still activate the grid? Lysara closed her eyes, saw her son, saw 500,000 Zitherans, saw Earth's children sleeping safely. Yes, because the alternative was extinction, and I would rather live with guilt than watch my species die. Renkal nodded slowly. Then we are not so different. You chose survival. My people are doing the same now. Your demonstration taught us that. He left. Lysara remained. A Zitheran officer had come seeking condemnation, had left offering understanding. It didn't erase the guilt, but it was something. Perhaps redemption was possible. The Galactic Council passed the resolution with overwhelming support. 3 species voted against. All former empires. The Earth Accord. Universal standards for territorial boundaries. Every species had the right to establish defensive zones. Violations would be acts of war. The galaxy had learned. Boundaries mattered. Warnings should be heeded. Lysara watched from Earth. Refused to attend. We don't want to be the face of this, she told the president, but the name stuck. Earth Accord, because Earth had paid the price. Dozens of species established exclusion zones, none with defenses as absolute as Earth's, but the principle was the same. Wars didn't end, species still had disputes, but the nature changed. Boundaries were recognized. Warnings were heeded. The galaxy was learning, and at the center stood Earth, feared, respected, isolated, safe. 20 years later, Lysara stood at the memorial, first time in 20 years, 70 now, body showing age. She touched the wall, 5 names. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry we couldn't convince them. I'm sorry for everything. A voice spoke. Ambassador Marique, she turned, a young woman, maybe 30, historian's credentials. Yes, I'm writing a comprehensive history. May I ask you some questions? Lysara almost refused, then nodded. One question. The historian didn't hesitate. Do you regret it? Lysara looked at the memorial, at her reflection in polished stone. Every second of every day, the weight of 500,000 names is unbearable. I carry them all. But would you do it again? That's a second question. It's the same question. Completed. Lysara smiled slightly. Yes, I would do it again, because the alternative was letting humanity remain prey. The math says we saved millions by killing 500,000. But math doesn't account for guilt, for nightmares, for the cost of looking at yourself knowing what you've done. How do you live with it? That's a third question. But I'll answer, I live with it by knowing Earth's children sleep safely, that our colonies develop without fear, that humanity finally has the right to exist. That's the trade I made. Safety for my soul. The historian nodded, deactivated her recorder. Thank you, Ambassador. She left. Lysara remained. The memorial stood silent, eternal. Behind it, the exclusion zone glowed. The grid still active, still enforcing the boundary. 20 years, not a single species had tested it. The warning was clear. The lesson learned. Earth was untouchable. But at what cost? Lysara closed her eyes, felt the weight. We wanted friends, she said quietly. We got safety. Perhaps someday we'll have both, but not in my lifetime. She turned, walked away. Behind her 5 names remained. 500,000 names remained. And in quantum darkness, 500,000 souls remained. Frozen. Preserved. Eternal testimony. The boundary stood. The grid pulsed. And the galaxy had learned. Humanity's words were not suggestions. They were law. Absolute. Final. Unyielding. And Lysara Marique would carry the weight until she died. The cost of peace. The burden of safety. The price one woman paid so her species could survive. She looked up at the stars, once filled with hope, now filled with isolation. Perhaps, she whispered, my grandchildren will find the better way. I did what I could with what I had. The stars offered no answer, and Lysara returned to Earth, to live out her days knowing she had saved her species and lost her soul. But Earth's children slept safely, and in the end that had to be enough.